The following is a live broadcast of a Lone Star community radio program, recorded and broadcasted live on irlonestar.com, Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and facebook.com/irlonestar. For more information on this show, please visit our show page at irlonestar.com/shows. To sponsor or donate to this program, visit our donate page at irlonestar.com/donate, or email us at lscrstudios@gmail.com, or give us a call at 936-666-1084. Lone Star Community Radio production and broadcast is possible by folks like you. So sponsor and donate today.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZWLP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe, and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Legal Connection with Tony and Cheryl. Tony and I'm Cheryl. Tony and I are two Texas licensed attorneys, and we are here on 104.5 and 106.1 every Tuesday from 12 to 1 to talk about your legal questions and concerns and issues that may arise, things like that. You can also watch us live on Facebook, and you can download the podcast tomorrow on Google Play and iTunes. And so today, Tony and I are going to talk about homeowners associations, questions and answers. We touched on that last time, but we had some material that we wanted to follow up on. And then we are also talking about how to, Tony, how do you say it? How to disagree with your tax appraisal. And
protest.
Protest your tax appraisal.
And this is anybody that has property. Mm-hmm. I guess it could also be vehicles and stuff, but primarily you're going to have your real property appraisal district will give you your appraisal notice, and they give you the option to protest it. And normally I don't, because it's not, there's a cap on it legally that they can't go up higher than 10% of the previous year's value. But this year I did for a property I had in Harris County. It's the same in Montgomery County. So I was going to go over kind of what they look at and what the procedure is. And it's real short. It won't take us, forever, but I think it's informative. And we were also going to go over, and I know you're going to say this when I'm going to jump in there and finish up, the laws, what laws that in Texas, and actually I guess it could be the United States also, or even Montgomery County, but particularly we're focusing on Texas. The legislatures will go in and they'll, you remember the little, I'm only a bill and all that kind of stuff.
I am a bill sitting on the steps.
They will suggest or introduce.
They
will introduce a bill, whether it be from the senators or the House of Representatives, and it follows through. And these bills, a lot of times, they don't need voter approval, but a lot of times they do. And so, but the problem is you don't know about some of the ones that are being pushed through.
That don't need the voter approval.
Right. And I was surprised that when you go into the paper, the newspaper, or just online or whatever, a lot of times they don't even tell you about a lot of these new laws. They're passed, but they're not all addressed, because they may be ones that are just not as significant to the people, to the press, right? And so I'm going to walk our listeners through how you can just go into the website, the legislative website, governmental website, and actually open them up and look at what it is that you're subject to. And the reason that came up is because I learned from one of our homeowner association meeting where I have two homeowner associations. Actually, we have some property in a lot of different places. There are all sorts of deed restrictions, but one of the ones that we have over here in Westwood, it's a fairly large one off 1488. One of the gals that's a board member with me said, I had to go get my a license for my all-terrain vehicle or go-kart or whatever. I'm like, and I thought she was joking. It ends up that on March 1st of this year that they passed a law that you've got to actually go to the tax assessor and get a license plate and pay a user fee
for a golf
for
cart?
your golf cart. And not only golf carts, but off-highway vehicles, golf carts, and neighborhood electrical vehicles, and they described them. And this was in the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles, and I was like, that's effective March 1st. I'm like, what? I've never heard of that. there's a lot of things we haven't heard of that are laws. And so I'm going to go over not only that little law, a lot of people have golf carts around here, but also how to look up the law that you may not even know existed and when it's effective. And so that's what we're going to. And if we have some time, I'd love to go over our question and answers on homeowners associations, those odd questions that you just don't know the answers to. So we have them. But this kind of came up because it's September 1st and some of the laws become effective September 1st. I thought it was kind of important to hit on it. All right. So where do we start today? You want
to start with the new laws, or you want to talk about the how to protest your tax appraisal?
Let's do that first because that's the first thing to talk about. It's pretty simple. Okay, so we're just going to focus on real property, although there's other types of property that'll be in your appraisal district. That's the big one.
Real property is land,
like your house,
it's
your house, your land,
fixed,
or If you've gone to a closing and you bought a house, then that's your real property, and you will get a notice from the appraisal district every year, depending on from whatever county, and I get them from my oil and gas properties too in different counties where I have it. So it's not just your house. It could be oil and gas interest or royalty interest, anything you've got to pay taxes on. But anyway, so the appraisal district will send you a, it's just an evaluation, the appraisal for your property. Before the taxes are due, they'll send you this appraisal, and they'll say, within that notice, here's what we're appraising your property at, and it's usually going to go up. It rarely goes down, but sometimes it'll stay the same. But it has gone down before. It'll tell you what they're appraising at, and that's what your tax is based on. And just as a rule of thumb, or at least in Harris County, I think it's going to be similar in Montgomery County, whatever that appraised value is, your tax that you will owe for the year will be about 2.7%. Okay? I think in Montgomery County it might be a little higher because we have, or maybe it's in Harris County, because we have an extra percentage for something. I mean, depending on what county you're in, you may have some other tax for transportation or for road, whatever it is. But what you pay as your sales taxes kind of gives you an idea too. But regardless of what you owe, you may have a med tax, so it's going to deviate just a little bit. Just use 2.5 in general, or go to your taxing authority and look at what your taxes are. It's going to tell you your annual amount. And the interesting thing about Montgomery County is you can actually go into the Montgomery County Tax Appraisal Office, and you can look at what your neighbor's taxes are and when they paid it. I thought that was kind of funny. You're going to be really nosy. You can literally put someone's name in there and find out what the taxes are on the property, what property they own, and if they paid their taxes. It's a good way to look, too, if you want to buy a property at a tax sale, which they listed all the county courthouses. I was in the JP court looking at tax houses that have gone up for foreclosure, which leads me to homeowners association again. If you don't pay your homeowners association due and you ignore that you didn't pay your assessment notice and we're going to sue you, if you just blow it off, they can foreclose on your house, and they do foreclose on your house.
I know.
And there were more notices by homeowners associations or their attorneys, and I forgot there's only a select few that represent tons of homeowners association. They foreclose on your house, and they literally sell it for this little nominal amount, maybe $2,000, and you've got this $300,000 house. They will foreclose on it, even though their lien is lower than your mortgage. So pay attention to that 5,000-pound gorilla, that seems like it's just your homeowners association, and it's your neighbor, and it's they are volunteers that run it. If they come after you, they can literally foreclose on your house, and it moves really fast, particularly if they get a default because you blew them off and you didn't answer the lawsuit.
Right.
That's what people are doing. So if you go and look at the county courthouse, you'll see that. Okay, I'm getting off the beaten track, but it's kind of important. You get this notice of the appraisal. This is a whole different entity. It's no longer a homeowners association. You get your appraisal from the county. And that's at that level that they determine what the value of your property is, not on the state level. You get it, and they give you the option to protest or contest it because you don't agree with the valuation. A lot of times they're not right. Most of the time they're too low. It's not a good value. It's not a true fair market value.
Right.
Why is that? Because they can only raise your the appraised value up to a cap of 10% by state law per year. So if the value of the property is escalating much faster than that because it was just a bunch of farmland and now it's got development on it, then your appraised amount is not anywhere close to your fair market value. So you have to get a realtor or appraiser to look at that for you if you're getting ready to buy a piece of property. Now, on my property that I was contesting, I'll use it as an example, was a townhouse that was built back in 1980. So it's 40 years old, it's falling apart, the assessments are extremely high to live there every month because they're always repairing something, the roof or the foundation or whatever. And technology's changed and whatever, but it's a fantastic location because it's inside the loop. So that being said, I didn't agree with my appraised value because it was catching up over the years to what its value is because now it's depreciating. And the houses that are being sold right now, it's a real mishmash because the developers want to buy everybody out so they can put a brand new thing on it, a tear down.
Right.
But for the people that are still there, our taxes are going up too high for what the value of the property is. And so I'm like, no. I'm going to protest it. And so the way it works is they let you they let you know, they give you the option to set up a meeting to be able to protest it. And it's going to be the same way in Montgomery County, Fort Bend County, all these different places. But the beauty now is because of COVID, and there is a golden lining or a silver lining, is that everything is Zoom now.
Yeah.
They give you the option to have a distance hearing. And so I had one this morning. It was an informal hearing, but I've gone to these before for other clients where they're the formal ones. And you've got to wait in a long line, and everybody, it's like cattle call, like it used to be for getting your driver's license, but not anymore. And so the Zoom meeting is they give you an email, and you can check in an hour before the time they set it, and everything's via email. They let you know. You have an option when they give you the to set up your hearing, whether you want it in person or you want it via Zoom. We've got an attorney present. You have a lot of options. And if you do that, they also give you all the criteria. They send it to you via email on what you have to provide to the hearing officer in advance. It's sort of, and I don't know if you've done these before, but you might have. If you get it's within the Texas Administrative Code. If you get a DWI, if you're representing somebody that had a DWI, your driver's license may be suspended during that period if you don't ask for a hearing. And those hearings are done in administrative offices generally you can have it almost anywhere, but usually you ask for to be where you live. But you can do those via Zoom now too. And so this administrative hearing is done via Zoom, and so I did my informal hearing, and they send you via email what you need to send and all the evidence to support why you believe the appraised value should be lower. And of course you're going to show, you've got cracks in the wall and your air conditioner doesn't work and it's 40 years old. But the most important thing are the comps, the comparables. And to do that, you've got to get onto usually the website or have some ability to show some evidence that is admissible. All right. It can't just be my neighbor said my house is a piece of junk and I don't like it. So normally these the appraisal districts for when a house is bought and sold are what you go to. You could probably do it by doing some of your own research or even get an appraiser if you want to spend that kind of money. Right. But appraisals are kind of expensive, even throwdowns. And so I say there may be a facility now for if you're buying or selling a house where you can run your own comps. I don't know because I'm a broker, and I know that if you might be able to ask a broker to do it for you. Almost everybody and their brother has got everybody and their brother that's a real estate broker. And it's real easy if you do a search and you put the criteria in there. It'll kick out what's called a CMA. It's Comparative Market Analysis, which is like a little mini appraisal. It takes once you put the search, for me, when I logged in, to HAR as a broker or as an agent, you have the same access to that same data. You go in there and you basically do a search and you limit it to just what your property is. And that's really important because they're going to fight you on this. And so you have to limit it to the houses that have generally the same square footage, that are in the same subdivision. In my situation, it was really easy because I'm in a massive townhouse a project is what I'll call it. Right. And I was able to just put the street address in and lots of different units came up. And you only want to put the sold in. So you put the sold in, You get the right square footage. Maybe you don't have one that had the same square footage, so you have to make it a little bit broader. So you have at least, you want to say about 7 comparable sales, and you can adjust that. But just for the sake of making this simple, I went in and I said, I want anything that was it was real small. It's a 1 bedroom, 1 bath with a loft. And that was in and of itself good enough. But what I didn't know, and I'm letting our listeners know, is that it had to be limited to the previous year, because taxes are the taxes you're paying are for the previous year. I know that's weird, but you're arguing right now for your 2019 tax appraisal because 2020 isn't over yet. And it seems kind of backwards to me that your taxes would be, seems like your insurance is paid in advance and your taxes should be in arrears. But for whatever reason, the appraisal district is looking at last year's taxes. That's what you're arguing about. And so I had to limit it to only sales that occurred in 2019. 2019 was a pretty good year, but 2020 is a crazy year. And so it's going to come up. It's going to come up different. Why?
Can you do it 2019 and prior?
Yeah,
or does it have to be
just? You can limit it to literally put a date range in there. Only give me things that sold in 2019.
Okay.
The reason 2020 is going to be weird, is as far as appraisals go, is because the interest rates went so far down because of COVID, and everyone's buying new houses and because of where they're trying to get the economy up in Washington, the rates are phenomenal right now, and so it is totally a seller's market because there's a lot of people buying and selling. So
it's a buyer's market.
I'm sorry, it's
right?
it's a seller's market
because they're selling quickly.
They're selling it like in the Red Oak Ranch subdivision.
Right.
We had like 7 properties that were up, and they were like boom, 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 all sold.
Oh my
like within
goodness.
days.
I wish I'd known. I would have gone over there and
Yeah,
looked.
I wish you had. I'd love to have you in our neighborhood. They sold like immediately within days of them going up, and that's very unusual. Normally, if you price it right, the sales price should be. I mean, your selling is going to be about 60 days out, not within days. That's a fire sale,
right? Which
means that they didn't price them right because the interest rates went lower and people could afford more. And so everything is kind of strange right now. So it's not strange. It's skewed because the interest rates are so low and the market's being bought up. And so house builders can't build houses fast enough because there's so many incentives. And in Montgomery County is crazy building boom anyway.
Yeah.
But we're in Montgomery County, and those houses sold so quickly. Wow. So that means that they weren't priced right. But that's kind of here and there. For appraisal purposes, you're only looking at 2019 if you're getting ready to fight your taxes right now, which you probably are. And which is going to lead to some of the laws that were passed that are effective this year with regard to your homestead and your appraisals. There's actually some laws that are in effect this year too that will help consumers and homeowners. But anyway, so you go in, they give you a little, they for Zoom meetings, they send you an email, you're ready to log in. For the informal, I believe it's across the board, you don't have to be present. You just ask for someone to look at it for you. You don't even have to be there to argue it. They're just going to run the same comps that I'm telling you about, and determine whether or not they think that it should be lower. Okay. What happens? Like I didn't agree today. It wasn't a very big difference what they offered and what.
Was it informal today or?
It was
formal?
informal today.
Okay.
And if you don't agree with it, it's sort of like with the school districts. If you want to argue about. If you want to contest a grade, you have an informal, there's a process, and then there's a formal, and then if you don't agree with the formal, then you appeal up. It's just almost like in court, because you're in front of the judge. It's sort of, even though you're at a hearing, it's informal to the extent that, or let's say mediation is informal. But if you're before the judge and you're just sort of arguing about something to the judge, and the judge makes a decision, depending on what court it is, like family court, if it's the associate judge, that's kind of informal because within 3 days you can say, I'm going to appeal this to the actual sitting judge. And so that was kind of informal because you get a redo, like start over, de novo, same thing here. So we had the informal today, really, really nice appraiser guy. I mean, I'm not going to shoot the messenger. He offered me something and we calculated out at 2.7% in Harris County what my savings would be on my taxes, which is all I was really concerned about. And it really wasn't very much. It wasn't I could have taken it, but I think I can get a bigger savings. I might be able to save like $1,000 if if I argued a little bit more looking at it. But he the informal was really good. I'm glad I didn't miss it because he said, here's the criteria I'm looking at, and I need it only for this year. When you go to your formal, you need to make sure you email into Zoom. And they have a share facility, so you can bring it up, but it's really better so they can look at it in advance. You can email pictures of your own property. I couldn't have done that today, but I was able to share my comps because that was admissible because HAR would be almost like a public service. They're relying upon that. And HAR is the Houston Area Realtors, and they have appraisals, and pretty much that's what the appraisers are going to use. So they rely upon that. And so I didn't agree with him, but my next formal one will also be Zoom. I was just wore a jacket, just pajamas with the jacket on, and I was able to show him my things using the shear facility. I have a formal one coming up in about a month, but this time I'm going to 5 days in advance, load it in through my little, login. All of this is very, very simple. You could do it if you were an 8th grader. And I'm going to see if I can reduce the value of my property based on actual comps. They didn't have the right square footage. They didn't have the same comps I had. The comps that they were using were completely redone with all new appliances, which was
so
not
they had
mine.
comps too, huh?
Well, the ones that they were using, they were arguing with me about my comps, not their comps. They were only using my data at this informal one, but they were saying, well, look at this one. Let's look at these, and they were looking at just what I presented. The problem was what I presented at this one, because I wasn't completely prepared, because it was the informal one. I didn't have pictures of my unit. I just thought they were going to bring it down. Was they were looking at completely remodeled units. Oh. And these are, a 40-year-old unit. They had brand new appliances. That was new painted, hardwood floors, everything. And because it's a good area, it's just that it's also, mine would be a tear down. But I saw the remodel ones, and I'm like, ooh, this is great. I could really, I want to do more to it. So, anyway, the informal, I didn't agree with it. No hard feelings or anything. It was great. It was just me. I am not an attorney for it or anything. Although I'm an attorney, I knew what to argue. You would not have needed an attorney to do this. The formal one will have 3 a tax assessor employees or appraisers, and they're going to be a little bit harder to budge with, I believe, but I'm going to be more prepared too. And then if I don't agree with that, I believe I can appeal it to the county court. If you're talking about $4 or $5 million property, you may want to do that because any incremental amount, your taxes are going to be significant on something like that. So that's how the appraisal protest will work in Harris County and in Montgomery County and Fort Bend County. And I normally don't argue over it because it's just not.
Is this the first time you've done this over this property?
No, I've done it for other clients on their the people that really are arguing, that need an attorney, $5-6 million properties that are over like in the villages and stuff in Houston. Now I've really gone to town and argued those because it's such when you put the attorney's fees involved versus the savings, then you really want somebody that knows what they're doing. And it just, because I'm a real estate broker and I have all the access to it, I don't need an extra expert or anything. But even if I wasn't an attorney, I could have gotten an expert because you want to make sure it's admissible. And if you got to go to the county level to argue it, then you definitely have to have all the legal admissibility, the same discovery rules will apply with regard to whether your evidence is admissible, evidence rules, statutory rules. So depending on that, you have to weigh, is it worth me arguing about? If you go to the informal hearing and you kind of calculate out the 2.7, 2.5, depending on the county tax rate, and it's not just, this rate does not apply just to a school district or to your county taxes. It's all those entities. So the valuation is important. Whatever that appraised value is that's set by the county is used by everybody, all the different little entities, the school district, and I can't think of all of them right off. There's a bunch of them. I don't have my tax bill in front of me. Yeah. But if you look at that, if you see that the bottom line is, if the appraised value looks about what you can sell it for the market, then don't bother.
It's about right.
But if it's much higher than what the fair market value is, then you want to go do your little Zoom meeting. Now, I could have gone all the way down. They gave me the option to do it in person, which I like in-person things, but I didn't want to do it for this.
Where would you have gone?
This one is in Harris County. I would have had to go over there off 290 and sat in a large room and all that stuff. This was so simple. They pinged me and said, you can check in within the next, mine was a 9:20 hearing. I could have checked in any time between 8:20 and 10:20. if I wanted to, or not at all, because informal wanted you not to check in.
Oh.
It was that simple. And then the guy walked me through. He said, download this additional software. You can share what you're looking at on your computer. If you can see it on your screen, I can see it on mine. And he just was very polite. He let me go run some more comps. I was right there, had the access to my computer and all my records right there to show him in front of the screen. So it was beautiful having it at home. I don't think I'll ever go to another one of these things in person. It's not going to, me being there in person for an argument about the value of property would not be necessary, because it's not adversarial except for with the appraisal district employees, and I'm not going to sway them if I get all crazy and in their face or whatever.
Right.
And I wouldn't do that anyway. It's all very polite.
Right. But so they didn't go with what you.
Well, it was
hoping?
no. There was some question. They have on. I did never notice this before, but they had the wrong square footage, and it was more than my square footage. And I was like, well, if we're doing it by square foot value, then your rate may be closer, but that's not the size. I don't have that size. And and I said, on top of all that, the stuff that we're looking at, these comps show pristine properties that have been remodeled. Their bathrooms are new, their kitchens are new, their floors are new. Mine does not look like that. Mine I bought so that my kids would be zoned to Bel Air. And mine, I didn't really care what it looked like. And I don't think it's been, nothing's been done to it, except for a few cosmetic things for 40 years. So,
Right.
And I mean, it's kept up because my maintenance fee is phenomenally high for, and I'm paying for all the exterior. But on the inside, there wasn't a lot that needed to be done. It's kind of small. But that being said, that's how the appraisal process works. If you get your appraisal notice on anything, like we're talking about, I don't think you get appraisal notices on your car. But if you have a business, that's appraised too. And they could be appraising the value of your property too high because you pay taxes on that as well. And so I don't have a business that has inventory, so I haven't seen those, but I've represented people that do, and so that's something you might want to argue too. I've never seen anybody argue about the property. They seem to keep that kind of stagnant. It's not something that goes up with the land value or whatever.
The business property,
right.
yeah.
So anyway, that was on that. Now let's go to the legislative
new laws.
The new laws that are
effective today.
January 1st, right.
Oh, January 1st?
January 1st, 2020. And this is another weird thing. The laws are staggered. So although we may not have had an election and they may not have passed it, these laws that are becoming in effect, some are January 1st. Some are March 1st. Some are June 1st. Some don't become effective until 2021. So if you go to the State of Texas website, and I think that there is let me see what that website actually is. It should be at the bottom of my chart here, but it may not be. Oh, I don't have it in front of me. We may have to link it. Do you have that there?
What is it that you're looking for?
I'm looking for the website where you can link into the Texas Legislature online, and I don't have that actual link. I don't have the call to it. Do you have it? Okay. Well, if you just Google Texas Legislature online, it will get you to all the bills that were passed. And the really kind of fun thing about this is and I don't know if we have our camera on here anywhere, but where do we have a camera?
I think that's yours right there.
All right. So there we go. I'm trying to. Can you see that? Okay. See, this is what it kind of looks like when you look on the screen. You'll see.
You got the bill numbers.
Okay, you see the bill numbers, and you can toggle those bill numbers. And when you toggle those bill numbers, it's in line by the effective date. When you go into it, the really interesting thing is it tells you what congressman or senator introduced it, how it progressed through, and it gives you a lot of stuff about on what the arguments were, and you can look at all that if you're really interested in a particular area of the law.
Oh, that's neat.
A law's being passed. But the final one, you have to tap into it. If you just want to see what the text is, then you go to text. But the other fun thing is you can see who did it. Okay, and what I learned today, and I should have known this because I usually do it when I'm looking at a law and I'm trying to write a brief, is that I just thought that I was going to be able to Google all the laws that were effective for 2020 and they would talk about it. No. you can't even see what they do. This particular thing that I was just showing on the screen just shows like House bill or Senate bill, and it says when it takes effect and what it generally covers. It doesn't say what it does, which was crazy because they had about massage therapy and like a lot of things were going on. And the whole reason I even looked at this was because of this go-kart law. I never heard of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you were looking for
I was
that
specifically looking for it.
Did you find it?
I did not find it. No, I never even found it, the effective date. But I found it because my friend had to go get one, my co-board member. And I'm going to read about that real quick before we get into this. Now that I've kind of walked everyone through what you can do if you're curious about the law and when something's going to affect, and maybe you've Googled and you can only find one facet about, homestead exemptions or whatever, or maybe your congressman was working on something, or they said they were, you can see if he really is. And these laws, you can actually see how it was introduced. One of them was literally only 3 paragraphs long. And a complete law, a bill that was introduced, was 3 paragraphs long. It said, and I love it because it was very brief. It just said, here's what we're trying to do. Here's how we want to do it. And it was signed off on. That was it. And on that one, I forgot who the congressman was, but he was just trying to make it so that the way that they looked at evaluations for home equity loans for land was because it was something that was open. They said they must look at a 3-year evaluation for the in order for you to get the home equity loan. And we'll have to even look at that one more closely. But it was something that was important. You want to get a loan to buy land and use your home or whatever you're getting a loan for, home equity loan. The evaluation process was changed by this law, and it was only 3 paragraphs long. It was that simple. I would never have known to look for that unless, as an attorney, I was looking in my, already passed law, database. This though shows you laws that are going to get ready to become in effect even next year, and so you might be ahead of the game. I'm going to open a restaurant and liquor licenses. The criteria is going to change in 2020 or whatever. You can actually go into the Texas legislature online and be ahead of everyone else on these different issues. All right. So this one though is something I just learned about beginning March 1st, 2020, for all people out there that have golf carts, go-karts, off-highway vehicles, and they're defined on what they are, and neighborhood electrical vehicles. So pretty much anything that's got wheels that's motorized is going to fall into this category. And I just highlighted golf carts to kind of see what is a golf cart. I mean, there's a definition for it. It says a golf cart with a golf cart license plate may be operated on the following roads. Anything that goes on a road, you can operate anything you want on your own property. But if you leave your property and go on an
neighborhood.
In a neighborhood, and I don't know if you can kind of see this. I'm going to bring this up again, but you can kind of see they've got like a little picture of a golf cart, just a little. I don't know if I can't see. Anyway, just a golf cart, and like we have an easy. I think our golf cart is an easy go. It's just like a little utility cart. That one needs a license plate. Okay, according to
only if you drive it off your property, though, right?
Right, and we did for a while.
I have before, I know.
Yeah, because I went around getting signatures from my neighbors for a different deed restriction amendment. So people do that. They get out, and we have. Like just the other day, somebody was coming by to look, I think, at our mailbox because I was out there late at night. I'm like, what are these people doing out in their golf carts with their little lights on? And they were drinking and stuff, which I'm sure that's probably not, there might be something about the law on that too. But we have a new mailbox that looks like Notre Dame. And so at night you can see the rose thing. And so they were looking at it. And I was like, what are these people doing? And I was like, oh, they're looking at my mailbox. And I've got little Quasimodo. All right. I digress. Okay. Beginning March 1st, 2020, a purchaser must provide proof that they paid use tax for their new off-highway vehicle bought out of state for use in Texas to title their OHV in county tax assessor collection. Anyway, and there's a form that you fill out, but the bottom line is it's not just out-of-state purchase. It's any vehicle. And so if you go to txdmv.gov, which is Texas Department of Motor Vehicles website, and you just type in golf carts or unique vehicles, they'll tell you what the criteria is and what you fill out. And it says the state use tax is 6.25% of its value. These are not really expensive go-karts, but I guess it could be if it's souped up. I mean, the ones I've seen at Home Depot are like $9,000 or $10,000.
I've had expensive go-karts.
Yeah,
before.
that's more. I think that's more valuable than almost any of our cars.
Yeah.
Because we keep them for so long, which I will add that it's not necessarily a plug, but I've got my very favorite car. We have newer ones. It's my 2007 Tahoe, and it's got almost 500,000 miles on it.
Oh, my goodness.
I love that car. It runs. And so this truck is amazing. And the Chevy dealership said if I could make it to a million miles, they will give me a new car. So I'm keeping that one up. So people that have got cars with a lot of miles on it, keep it running, because if it's a brand name car, you might get a new vehicle if you can get it to $1 million. I'm pushing it, 500,000, and it's a lot of work right now keeping up with it. But very few things go wrong with it, but little things go wrong after a while with cars.
Well, how long did it take you to get 500,000 miles
Not long,
on the
because
car?
we went to every state in the United States.
Oh, in the Tahoe?
Well, no, the ones that were close by, we went in the Tahoe, and we go to every A&M game, and then we go, and then to
So you
Dallas
put
and back.
miles
So
on
we put
it.
Texas is a big state.
It is.
We're putting a lot of miles just going back and forth. So,
Yeah.
no, I stand corrected. We did go all over Texas and neighboring states, Louisiana and the Gulf Coast states. But for the other states, we did fly in, and then we put a lot of mileage on rental cars. A ton of it. All right. So anyway, you got to fill out some forms, and this was effective March 1st, 2020. And my friend found out about it when she went. I don't remember what she needed, but she went to the tax assessor, and they told her about it. And she has the cutest little license plate that she now sticks on the back of her golf cart. And the deputies are giving tickets if you were out on your go-kart, and that's how she knew about it, because they give you a warning, and if you don't go get it, then you get a ticket for not having a registered go-kart. So people out there that are driving need that. All right, so that's something that I was looking for, and you can find that, or should be able to find it, on your Texas legislature online. I didn't find that because I think that bill may become in effect March 1st, and did I pull up in March 1st? Let me see. Let me look to see if for whatever reason, this March 1st, this may not have been a Texas statute. It might have been administrative. Well, it'd have to be a Texas statute. I have no idea why this March 1st comptroller Texas
date?
Yeah, it says March 1st, 2020. I don't know why it didn't show up on my Texas legislature's history online. But when we get our representatives, Toth or Creighton, on our show, we're going to ask them why it didn't show up, because maybe that's just a fluke. All right. So now, if you go on to the Texas legislature online and you ask for, just recent bills, and then you go in and you want to see what they're about, I'm going to just kind of very briefly go over some of the ones that were passed, and then you have what they're about. Because if you go on, I would have to toggle open each one of these to see what they're about.
Right.
And I can't tell that online, but we've got a printout of some of them. So, for an example, House Bill 3 relates to public school finance and public education, creating a criminal offense, and authorizing the imposition of a fee. It doesn't tell you more. That sounds like a
That's
low.
not enough. Yeah.
But guess what? It came into effect on September 1st, 2019, and then some changes were made that are effective September 1st, 2020. I couldn't tell you for the life of me what they are unless we've got this printout of the more significant ones. But if you go on down, there's another one that was effective January 1st, 2020. It relates to the temporary exemption from ad valorem taxation of a portion of the appraised value of certain property damaged by disaster. And that could be, any hurricane or whatever. And you've got periods of time, like from Imelda, that you can actually file an insurance claim or get a government aid for disasters. And so this may be very important. And I can't for the life of you tell me what it is. I do not know. There was another one that came down here, and it had to do with what we were talking about earlier. It was ad valorem taxes. Oh, here's another one I'll just throw out there. Relating to the exemption from ad valorem taxation of precious metal held in a precious metal depository in the state. And that is important because people that collect gold and silver and metals right now during this completely crazy stock market and with our economy with COVID, if you've watched Mad Money or CNBC or any of the financial programs, or just go Google stock market from the beginning of the year, it looks like someone had a heart attack and was brought back to life. I mean, it's just insanity. But good thing if you want to play around with your stocks and you know how to do that. All right, so what do you have? What are the ones that we can actually talk about today?
This one is interesting. It's homeowner tax exemption. This kind of goes with what you were talking about at the beginning of the show. Not all homeowners know what exemptions they may be eligible for, which means they may miss out on some tax breaks.
All right.
Disabled veterans, surviving spouses of disabled veterans, Texans over the age of 65, and those with disabilities are eligible for certain property tax exemptions they may not know about.
That is very important. Why?
Yeah.
So many people I know recently that were in their late 70s and 80s, and it's really crazy, but COVID, they died from not necessarily COVID, which is insane. It's listed on the death certificate as COVID,
the cause of
but
death.
That wasn't what they were dying
I
from. They
know.
had something else, and so that is really, really bad. That they're tallying
inflating
up the COVID
deaths.
and I know that because I'm doing a probate right now of a gentleman who died, and he definitely was going downhill, and they didn't give him long to live before COVID, but when he tested positive after he was home, like in a hospice situation with hospice in his house. And they listed the primary reason for his death is COVID. He had not one symptom.
Yeah.
He did not die from COVID.
Right.
But they're tallying it in, and it really is bad.
Yeah.
But on that same note, his widow, he was in the service. Anybody that's in their probably 70s or 80s was probably or perhaps a veteran,
A lot of
because they
people.
had the draft and what have you, or even 60s now because of the Vietnam War. They're not going to know. Many people don't know what their tax exemptions are.
Well, this is important. Are we getting the signal? Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
Senate Bill
Thank you.
2060 requires that appraisal district officials include a short description of each exemption a person is eligible for when they receive their appraisal notice.
Very
so
important.
that will take care of that problem. Some people don't know what they're eligible for, or they think they have an exemption in place.
Already,
Said
right.
Chandler Crouch, a real estate agent who helps people with their protests for free, like you. Some will go for years without knowing the exemption isn't there. It's definitely important that we make them aware of it. So
Right. And that is important because you get that appraisal notice and it looks like it's foreign. But the truth of the matter is it's all in blocks. And so you look at the value, but this when was that bill effective? I think that was January 1st, 2020.
Yes.
So we didn't get the benefit of it last year, but you will for next year. It will tell you what it's going to help you learn, or look at your options for additional exemptions based on your age and other criteria.
well, listen to this one, Tony. Late mortgage payments. Homeowners with mortgages set up so the lender pays the tax bill every year can still be held liable if the bill isn't paid on time.
Oh.
They could face costly penalties and interest if the mortgage lender, typically a bank, makes a mistake.
Okay. Okay. And then this is the Texas Prescription Monitoring Program. I did not know this. Beginning March 1st again, pharmacists and prescribers, other than veterinarians, will be required to check the patient's prescription monitoring program history for their prescriptions before dispensing or prescribing opioids, benzodiazepines.
They've done that for years.
Yeah, but now
though.
they've actually got a law in Texas that says that they have to do it.
They
because-
didn't have that before?
No, not until March 1st. This is a new one. The reporting requirement applies to all Schedule 2, 3, 4, and 5 controlled substances. So apparently this has changed. They've also got massage therapy. You have to get a temporary license if you're like an intern or you haven't gotten your actual license
student,
yet, a student. There's a new procedure to get that particular licensing now before you can be a masseuse. So I know that we have to probably wind up here pretty quick, but we've got a lot. If you go and just take a peek at, here it was. It says, relating to licensing and regulations of massage therapy requiring a student permit, authorizing fees. This act takes effect September 1st, 2019. But Section 5 takes effect July 1st, 2020. So this is showing you when it's staggered.
The different stages.
Another one relating to the operation, administration, and practice of grants provided by the courts and judicial branch of state government, increasing and imposing fees, creating a criminal offense if it's not done properly. It doesn't take effect until January 1st, 2021.
But that it creates a criminal offense if you don't pay fees effectively?
No, if the government, if it's not done properly, if the government hands out money to somebody that's got their hands in somebody's pocket. So that's kind of an important one to look at, too. So we can get into a little bit more of these. Maybe we can print out what they actually do on our next show.
And we can talk about it next week, too.
Because there is so much going on in here that's really, really important that you would never know about.
Never. Okay, guys. Well, listen, we want to thank you for listening. You can download the podcast tomorrow, and you can listen, and you can watch us on Facebook later, too, if you want. We want to remind you to
serve God by serving others.
Have a great week.
Today's show was recorded and broadcasted live on irlonestar.com, Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and all rights and ownership are reserved to Lone Star Community Radio. For more information regarding this program and Lone Star Community Radio, visit us online at irlonestar.com. Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's community radio station, serving the community with local programming on TV, radio, and online. If you enjoyed today's program, please support us by sponsorship or starting your own show. Contact us today by phone or text at 936-666-1084 or email the station at lscrstudios@gmail.com.